Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 Overload. I am Peter, that is Matt. We talk about movies on this show, and specifically on this show, every month I pick a movie I love, Matt picks a movie he loves. We put it up for vote on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Our patrons vote between which one we'll do, and then we do the winner. So the winner this month was Assault on Precinct 13, John Carpenter's original film, which was my pick, which beat Matt's choice of...
I don't even remember at this point. It's been a whirlwind month.
I want to say Last Action Hero, but I don't know if it was. That may have been another month.
Sure. Sounds right.
Okay. But anyway, we're here. We're going to talk about Assault on Precinct 13 is what we're going to talk about. We'll start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning in the middle before we get into spoilers, and that's what we're going to do. So here we go. If you don't know what Assault on Precinct 13 is a very simple action movie from the 70s, directed by John Carpenter. This was before he did Halloween. This was 2 years before Halloween this came out, and it is the simple premise of a father witnesses his daughter get gunned down by this extreme gang in LA, and after taking a little bit of revenge, he runs for safety and ends up in this police precinct that is shutting down. It's this, it's on a skeleton crew. Everyone's moved over except the one or two cops who are just there for the last night packing up, and a siege is basically enacted upon this precinct where this gang attacks the precinct, which also just happens to be housing a couple of convicts that were being transported to another prison just by happenstance. And it's kind of the story of how the couple police officers who are left kind of have to team up with the convicts to stay alive because they can't just do it on their own because there's too many bad guys. And that's the gist of the movie. That is your elevator pitch for Assault on Precinct 13. So I'd seen this before because I picked it, obviously, but Matt had not. So I'm very curious,
Nope.
Matt, how did you feel about Assault on Precinct 13?
It's definitely a John Carpenter movie, right? I've seen, of the movies of his I've seen, it checks all the boxes. So that's good. As soon as it started, he did the score. So that was cool.
That sweet synth with that pulsing bass line and then the high pitched. Oh, It's beautiful. I love it.
And not that it sounds familiar to anything else. It's just John Carpenter as a musician has some, tells. That was the music, but then the movie itself, this is one that you hear about in film circles because it is Carpenter's first. So I was familiar with it, but not I didn't know the storyline.
First, not counting Dark Star.
Well, yeah, I'm talking was Dark Star? I thought it was his film school project.
It was technically a student movie, but it became so expensive and it was released as a movie that if you want to count it or not is kind of up to you. But I'm putting it out there as a qualifier just in case anyone corrects you in the comments. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. So and I had seen the remake back when that came out. And then, that's a pretty forgettable action movie, which is weird because that's the complete opposite of this. I won't forget this movie, but it's really sold as this B exploitation kind of movie, but it's not a throwaway, if that makes sense. That's the connotation with B movie or exploitation movie. Is they shoot it fast and it doesn't have much value. Just put it on the lower tier. That's not this at all. You know what I mean? This has some staying power.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely a low budget and it's definitely a B movie premise essentially, but it's handled dead serious with skill and tact, and I think. Because I saw Brawl in Cell Block 99 last year, and I remember it's not the plot's nothing like Assault on Precinct 13, but it reminded me of something that John Carpenter might have made if he'd made a movie with that plot, right? It kind of had that kind of gritty, hard-hitting B movie, but done with skill kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, that's it. There's a skill there that doesn't always, pop up in other type of B movies or exploitation movies. And weirdly, this reminded me a lot of The Warriors. Which came out, a couple years later.
Yeah, it was about that time.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's just the way that it was shot and Precinct 13 just kind of laid the groundwork that, hey, these movies can be financially viable and you can add a little bit of create like quality into them, or what, or if it's just the gangs. But I was getting some crossover vibes.
Even in my head, I was like, there's another movie recently that I thought had that vibe. Actually, it was Overlord.
Yeah.
Overlord has that B movie, but it's done very seriously, with style kind of thing going for it, and I think that kind of falls into that category as well. Because this movie, one of the things I love about this movie is that for the first half of the film, it keeps telling you what time it is, because the whole movie takes place in the same day, and it tells you, oh, it's like 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, and every time it cuts around between our main character, Bishop, who's the police officer. On his first night as a lieutenant, by the way, they mentioned that a few times.
Yeah, he gets promoted, and his first act as promotion is, you got to go close down this precinct.
Yeah, you're babysitting as they pack up things.
Yeah, you're basically the hatchet man. This is these people's last day at this place. They're all reassigned. So just make sure nothing bad happens. And then, of course, everything bad happens.
Yeah, everything bad happens, yeah. So we come from him driving to work and getting there and meeting the people, and because he's never been to this precinct before. Well, that's actually incorrect. He was there as a kid, but he was never there as a cop.
Right.
Right. And just setting up some of the character stuff, and it also goes to this gang, because the movie opens with this group of gang members being killed by the police, and it's a very quiet, stylized thing. And then of course you have that pulsing bass that comes in, and
Yep.
I feel like the movie, the score almost has this ticking sound in it at times, where it feels like it's setting the pacing of what the scene is. A lot of long shots, a lot of long takes, because that's what Carpenter loves to do. And it all builds up, and these guys are out for essentially revenge on society because some of their brothers. Because we find out this gang, the Cholos, are really devout and almost like a cult, almost in terms of, but as a gang, as a harsh gang. And they set up at the start as well that they've got extreme military class weapons and stuff that typically gangs wouldn't have. So it sets up this really big foe, and they're out for blood, and they eventually do. And I won't spoil what they do until we get to spoilers, but they get to the violence, and it propels the movie from there.
And it's straight up random acts of violence early on. You're following them around. When it cuts between Bishop and the prison transport, and then the gang. The gang's doing something new in every scene.
Yeah. And every time it cuts between them, the time comes up again. Because you have because even the first scene that's the middle of the night is after midnight, so it's 2:30 a.m. that happens, and then it starts about 4 p.m. and we go up. And I love that by the time it gets to 7 p.m. it's dark, so that's when things are about to really go down. And even there was a shot actually where one of the gang is coming towards the dad who's running towards the police station. So he's in the phone booth, and there's this really atmospheric shot. And this is pre-Halloween John Carpenter, but you can almost see the Halloween kind of preemptive
There's a
vibe.
horror vibe to it.
Yeah.
I almost got zombie movie vibes. This is his refuge, and it's not enough.
Yeah, because this one gunman walks out of the darkness and it's just complete pitch black around him, but he's just walking slowly towards them. And I was getting okay, I can see where the IDs for the Shape and Michael Myers were kind of seeded here. But yeah, from there it's a siege movie, and it's how he handles certain moments of can Bishop trust the convicts to help, and can we like the convicts? As Wilson and Napoleon Wilson, the main convict, can we like
Some
him?
great names here.
Yeah, and we never actually find out what he really did. We know he killed people, but we don't never get the context of how he killed people or why he killed people.
He feels like a noble criminal, like a Cool Hand Luke kind of guy. That was he might have killed people, but it could have been justified.
Yeah, there could have been circumstances that it's we're not going to think he's this awful evil human being necessarily.
And he just keeps asking people for a smoke. That's all he wants. And he doesn't have this menace to him. So as a viewer, I felt you can even though he's in prison for something, you can kind of trust this guy.
Well, one of the smart things it does is that his opening scene is the warden at the prison who's letting him go assaults him. And it's okay, he's a convict, he's a prisoner, we know he's murdered people, but it makes you almost side with him because you feel like he's being mistreated.
Yeah, there's sympathy there.
Yeah, and then at the end of the scene, he kind of intentionally trips the warden with a chain when he's getting on the bus, and he sort of reiterates the same line of dialogue that he had when he was knocked out the chair. And it's he got his comeuppance, and you kind of laugh and good on you for doing that. You feel like you like him a little bit because of that scene.
Yeah.
So that's really smart, and I think one of the probably the most important dramatic point of the film is the moment where Bishop actually does like trust him enough with a gun, but it doesn't happen. It's not like a big moment where he decides that he's going to let him do it. It's in the heat of the moment where they're going to die if he doesn't, and he just throws him a shotgun like it's nothing.
Yep.
And then it's after that he's used the shotgun on the bad guys where there's this moment of tension where Bishop sort of realizes like this could go very badly in like a second if he's going to turn around and shoot me. Like that, this could go bad. And then from there, it's that's really the crux of the movie. It's this uneasy alliance. And
well, it's been described as tense, but I don't put it in the tense like in that Alfred Hitchcock version where you know everything's ramping up. This is like everyone's on a tightrope, whether it's the decisions they're making or you know, and that as you just described it. I think sums it up perfectly.
I love how you said it's been described as tense, but I think it's built on a tightrope. As if being on a tightrope is not tense as hell.
when I hear a movie is tense and taut, it moves and it's lean and like you know what I mean.
I'm just imagining Matt watching The Walk. You know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the World Trade Center doing the tightrope.
He's the main character. I know he's fine. There's nothing there.
So yeah. Anyway, the movie's in this ticking clock. It feels like, and this is actually something I would compare to Cell Block and or Brawl and Cell Block 99 again. Is the idea that it feels like whatever conclusion we're getting to is inevitable, right? Wherever this is going, it feels like it's always going there. And I kind of like that feeling to it. It feels like that every time that the score starts ticking and it's like the action's playing out, it feels like no. The destination, and obviously every movie's destination is predetermined because it's a written movie, but there's this element to this movie where it feels like wherever we're going, it's where we're always going, and there's some like confidence in that, even if that means certain death, even if, and again we're not in spoilers yet, but even whether or not this movie's going to end with them surviving, them going out guns blazing and dying in a blaze of glory or whatever, right, or the convict sacrifices himself in a moment of noble final act to save everyone else, wherever it's going, it feels like it's ticking down to that conclusion the entire time.
There's almost a sense of predestination once the day starts, and I like that.
So I love that a lot. It's very stylish. The music we've mentioned a couple of times. The music's fantastic. The way it's shot's fantastic. I love how simple the plot is. This is very much my kind of action movie, where it is the one location. It's all one night. It's I love it. One thing I really noticed this time watching it actually is how there's not really there's one kind of main gang member early on, but he's not around the whole time. And from that point on, like you compare it to a zombie movie, that's kind of true in the sense that they never focus on any faces of the bad guys. Like they're almost just this army of like faceless people. There's a shot towards the end where they're closing in on the precinct, and it reminded me of a shooting game like at the arcade. Where you can't see the guys, but they're shooting at you. Yeah. So they're kind of just in the background and they're moving around and, so yeah, nameless, faceless, like I don't feel like we ever get any of the gang members' names. No, I don't think so, no.
So, and that adds to it.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's like a big subtext in this movie, because obviously you compare it to like a zombie like Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead is filled with themes and subtext and analysis of the times. I don't know if this does. I mean, arguably maybe it's commenting on gang crime in LA in the 70s. Maybe it is actually referring to some of that, but I feel like this is more of a straight up B movie where it's not trying to actually be deep. It's just trying to make a really good action movie.
Yeah, there's that, but there is Bishop is the black lieutenant in the neighborhood,
That's true, yeah.
So him being the main character too, I feel like that was done on purpose. Like that's all Carpenter trying to say something. What he's trying to say there, I don't know, because I'm not too familiar with the time period. You
weren't born yet.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Not far off, anyway.
It's a weird time, It's like the 70s. Most of the stuff that I've learned from the 70s comes from movies.
Yeah.
And that's probably not a good thing. So
It's your cynical, gritty post-Vietnam kind of. I mean, Vietnam was still going at the start of the 70s, but because the 60s was all flower child and optimism. End of the 60s into the 70s, you're into misery. You're into everything's bad.
like it's not One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest where you're looking at it like, oh no, I know exactly what this movie's trying to say, but I can glean on it.
Yeah,
some of the intent.
I think in terms of some broad strokes, the idea that maybe the criminal who isn't actually a bad person and the cop can team up is a sign of solidarity. The fact that one is black and one is white is maybe also a sign of, hey, it doesn't matter who the enemy is, like, good people stick together and so on. Like, there's some broad strokes there with that.
Yeah, and the gang's pretty multicultural as well. It's not just a group of one ethnicity. They're not all white guys or all black guys.
And to be fair, it points that out on the news at one point.
Yeah.
As your dog is going nuts. But it points out in the news at one point that the gang is kind of unique in that it's a mix of all ethnicities of the area. There's white, there's black, there's Hispanic, there's Asian, there's a whole range.
Yeah.
And that's interesting of itself. I mean, I guess just a general fear of society going to shit and like try to survive, and it's maybe the core theme of the movie.
Yeah, and you have to lean on others that you normally wouldn't. There's like you said, there's this tense relationship between the cop and the convict, and they just have to put their trust in one another and hope it works out.
Yeah. But hopefully you have respect, but like as the movie goes on, that's you hope that's kind of what the narrative point is going to be, is the respect.
Yeah.
We've not mentioned Lee yet. Lee's the female lead of the film, who's like the receptionist at the police station that's shutting down, and she kind of becomes a prominent character as well, and again there's another receptionist who's actually played by at the time was Nancy Loomis. Who went on to be in Halloween. Also, the sheriff from Halloween was also the I don't know what his rank is actually, but he's the one who's escorting the prisoners on the bus. To the other prison.
He's in the bad looking suit. Yeah. It's funny that Carpenter, I know from listening to the Halloween Unmasked podcast, that Carpenter was terrible with names, so he would just take names from people he knows and put them in the script. So I'm sure Nancy Loomis inspired Dr. Loomis. So that's a fun little thing.
Yeah, she's Annie in Halloween. She had her hair up at first. I didn't recognize her, and then she turned around, and I was like, "Oh, it's Annie." Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen this movie before, but it's been a while. I'd forgotten that she was in it. But yeah, so so I think we'll give the spoiler warning, and we can dive into spoilers. And so here we go. So obviously the movie ends with our cop and our convict side by side walking out of their final moment, and I really like that, because if the idea that this movie's about people sticking together, even people who you wouldn't expect to stick together, I don't think anything exemplifies that more than them walking side by side, because one of the cops who comes in at the end tries to like handcuff Wilson, and he's like, no, don't touch him, like get off, and he's like, hey, it'd be my honor to walk you out, and they walk out, not handcuffed, just side by side as like brothers in arms, and it's kind of this. Yeah,
I really hope that Bishop goes to talk to the parole officer and was like, hey, this dude went above and beyond. Like, I know he might have murdered some people, but like, give him a better cot.
Yeah, maybe a reduced sentence, maybe not death row anymore, please.
But it doesn't. It feels earned. Like, I don't want to say that it feels earned, but like, you understand why Bishop is doing that with a cop who is supposed to be his like brother, right? Like they always say that police officers, it's a brotherhood, and he's choosing this guy who actually had his back. And I just like that message.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much that the other cops don't like help him necessarily. Like the one other cop who's at the place gets killed quite early on, and then the other cops we see driving around looking, because people have reported sounds of gunshots, and we cut to these two guys who are going around, and they actively don't go down the street with the precinct, because like, oh, it's just the old precinct down there. Why would the crime be there? And you can't even fault the logic, really. It's like, why would it be at the precinct? That'd be weird.
It's one of those moments in a movie where you yell at the TV and go, no, go down there. They need you. Because
the gang's very organized, because they kill the phone repairman, they cut the phone line so they can't phone out. This is one of these movies actually where it's ruined by modern technology, where if they have smartphones,
cell phones,
That's it. The movie's done. They can phone
Yeah,
for
well,
backup.
you'd have to find out like
The cell tower.
the criminals have like yeah, no, they have an EMP and it
Yeah,
just
there you go.
blasts all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I understand a gang having massive arms, but an EMP like that one's massive.
You'd have to tell me that they're actually more of a terrorist group who are gearing up for other
Yeah.
things rather than just being a gang. But I suppose that would take away from, I think, part of the message that we're talking about, where they are just this kind of faceless gang that are part of the streets rather than some organized militant,
Yeah.
group with a manifesto. They don't have a
Yeah,
manifesto.
yeah. Although that's a movie I would watch too.
Oh,
Where
sure,
it's
yeah.
you know what I mean? And they have him trapped in, actually I think there is a movie like that with John Cena. Came out a couple of years ago called The Wall, I want to say, and he's a sniper trapped behind enemy lines.
I have literally never heard of this, but I'll take your word
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, yeah. The only reason I know it, well, besides being a wrestling fan, is it's apparently meant to be good. Aaron Taylor Johnson is also in it. He's the other guy that's trapped with Cena. But yeah. Still, I should give that a watch now. I wonder if it has any similarities.
I want to point out actually the first moment that Wilson and Bishop meet, and they lock them in the holding tank in the cells at the back of the station, and Wilson asks Bishop for a smoke like he's asked multiple people up until that point. And Bishop's the first one when he says no, he actually follows up with the word sorry.
Yeah.
And right away, I think Wilson kind of likes him more because he treats him more like a human being in the way he responds,
Right.
and it's right away there's like a bond there, as little as it may
there's
be.
empathy.
Yeah. Even the fact that he comes back after the first assault and asks if they're okay, like, did anyone get hurt? Are you guys okay back here? Just simple little things like that. And of course, I think you like Wilson especially when Lee comes back to let them out of the cells when they're getting rushed. And she gets shot in the arm, and then he kind of jumps in and like fights the guy off of her.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, right. So he's done a little heroic act. We're growing with him, and like I said before, we set up that there's a shotgun and a rifle in a box that's locked, and he's trying to because obviously everything's been packed up to move to. Yeah. And obviously it's locked because it's firearms, obviously, and they get it open as they're being sieged, and he just throws the shotgun over to him, and I love that moment afterwards where he's just staring at him like, okay. Don't make me regret giving you that shotgun, please.
Yeah.
And then it becomes probably the biggest action scene of the movies where everyone's got a gun and there's this big siege as they're shooting them as they try to come in the windows. And it's good fun. Really good. And then Annie from Halloween gets killed, and we get the sad theme comes in, and it's all good.
Yeah. She, just trying to go home, and it really drives that point home that.
Well. That leads to the other big thing in the movie, of course, is that she wants to give them the guy, because the dad, because we never mentioned this really outside of the opening premise, but this gang straight up shoots a little girl through her ice cream cone, might I add.
Yeah.
And it is. I remember the first time I watched this because I knew what the premise was, but I didn't know that this happened at the start.
Yeah, me neither. You feel like this would be like when someone mentions assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah.
You think this would be within the first sentence too, and it's not. And I'm glad that I didn't know about it because it was a good shock. Like,
yeah, because I often joke that not enough kids get killed in movies because movies shy away from it, and I'm mostly joking, but
yeah, that's the most Peter line I've ever heard.
Best part of the Star Wars prequels is when he murders all the kids. Anyway, so
there you go.
But yeah, so they're looking around and they're looking through their scope and they're just looking for trouble, and then they get to this ice cream truck and the girl comes back to like, oh, I asked for vanilla twist and this is just regular vanilla. Yeah. She literally goes back and asks for more vanilla.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing because if you watch any of our Almost Cancelled, I end every review with have you got any vanilla? So I'm just giggling at that. Shame Carl's not here to respond to my reference to my own joke. So. But she showed up, and the bad guy just, without even hesitating, puts his gun with the silencer at her and just shoots through the ice cream, and you just see like the blood spatter through the ice cream, and I'm like, that was dark as shit. The kid's dead. And if that
and this came out in '76 too. Like that's dark by our standards. Imagine it, over 40 years ago.
you know, like if this sets up, okay, these villains are just pure evil. Like, there's no redemption for these characters. Unlike Wilson, who's done bad things in the past, obviously, there is no humanity to these characters. They are
there's a clear delineation between the gang members and the convict. You know.
Yeah. This idea that criminals are getting worse, and like those good old fashioned criminals are, you know, few and far between now, maybe. So they like he runs. He kills the one who murdered his daughter. He actually gets revenge, chases after them and shoots them, and then that's when they all start coming back and they get all their reinforcements. And he runs to the police station for safety. And the reason why I'm telling you all this now is because Annie from Halloween wants to just give him up. He's like, no, they just want him. We can just pass him over. And Bishop says, hey, no, he came here for help. So we're going to help him no matter what. That is our job. That is what we're going to do. And I think even Wilson kind of respects that. That by the end, they're still trying to help him and save him. And at the end of the movie, you know, after they've faced off the final siege, and he's been carried away in the stretcher, you know, the guy who's kind of, once he gets to the police station, he's basically just in shock the rest of the movie. He doesn't speak, he's just kind of staring blankly. He kind of finally starts to mouth what looks like thank you as he's being carted off on the stretcher. And it's like, no, there's a really noble, almost superhero message to this, where no, you don't give up on people. If you're supposed to be a protector, that's what you do. And right from the opening scene, when he's on his car radio to his superiors, and he's been told to go to this precinct, Bishop's like, wait, you want me to go babysit this old precinct? Like, yeah, that's a bit unexciting. And the guy in the radio's like, what, you want to be a hero your first night out? And he's like, yeah, kinda. And I'm like, well, he got his chance.
Well, knowing what the movie's gonna be, you're kind of like, careful what you wish for, bud. Yeah,
regretting his words later, I think, as well. And you know, the movie does a good job of giving you. He has a moment with Lee where they kind of bond. They have a couple of jokes with each other, enough that you get that once they're in the crisis, they already like each other. And then of course, and it's a clear delineation from that to the relationship with Wilson, which takes time to trust him, because he is by his nature someone you don't want to trust right away. Right. So that stuff's played really well. I like that a lot. Of course, and Joe, I love as well, in terms of like survival. I love that they basically run out of ammo. You know, after the big shootout where they hold them off for a bit, it's like, hey, we've got like 8 shots between us. That's all we have left. And they're regrouping outside because we've just killed like 10 of their guys, but they're coming back soon. They're going to come in.
Yeah, and they have, we don't know what they have.
Yeah.
They could be bringing a tank for all we know. Like, this is all we have is this limited amount.
Yeah, they've got like maybe 2 shotgun rounds, a few rifle rounds, and 2 handgun rounds. Like, that's all they've got. Yeah. And they come up with this plan to go into the basement with the hallway, and they have the sign, and they're just beating them with sticks until they can try and blow up the explosives that were in the evidence room. And that's kind of how they survive the end of the movie. Obviously, the other convict, Wells, tries to make a daring escape through the sewers to get help. And I actually loved that as he was leaving, Wilson's like, hey, I know you're going to run for the border, but just call for help first. Like, just get his help, and then just run. Yeah, fine, run. Yeah,
no honor amongst thieves, right? Yeah. Like, he knows.
Yeah. So, no, I like that too. It's, again, it made them feel like real people. It made them feel like... and it's not so much the super realistic style, though. There is a pulpiness to this movie where Wilson has some cheesy lines that he kind of like hams up a little bit as he's talking about how much of a badass he is, or so on and so forth. That stuff is there, but no, it's really, really good.
I like too how badass Lee gets to be with her arm injury. Like, she can't move it, but she doesn't complain about it. Like, when all said and done. So I like that about her. Like, she's still active, and and as being the only lady left in the movie at that point. Like, again, there's Carpenter with the strong female role, and you don't feel like he's doing it just to do it. It feels like, no, that's the character.
No,
that's how it came off the page.
It feels like, no, she's just as strong as the other two. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. He's doing it to make a point. He's doing it because he will naturally just have strong characters. That's just what he does. So. Yeah, I think the characters are all likable and strong from the get go. The villains are evil, and the premise is so simple, and it's like them coming towards the building, and one of the things as I was watching it again was that after they shoot the first cop outside, and there's a little bit of time as they're trying to figure out what's going on, is there people out there, are they coming for us? I was like, okay, what slows them down? Because there's not really a whole lot to hold them off. And they have their big shootout, and then things quieten down again. But I like that when they quieten down, it's A, because they've just had a lot of deaths, so they're regrouping, but it's also because they realise that this will attract attention, so they move all the cars they use to like for cover back to their the car park where the parking spaces were, and they move the bodies of the cops that were outside, so that it's as if nothing ever happened. If anyone looks at a glance, the street, everything's fine.
Right.
They just fade out back into the night. It's almost it's almost like the city itself is attacking them in a weird way.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that when I was watching it. Like I saw them doing it and stuff, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, that's a good pickup.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this idea that the city itself is coming alive and coming after them in a weird way. The way that all these nameless, faceless villains just keep kind of pouring out of the streets and into the precinct, and eventually the cavalry do show up and help them out, but no. So I have this was one that I saw much later than a lot of his other a lot of Carpenter's other movies, and it quickly shot to like my third favorite of his library.
Yeah, it's up there. Out of his ones I still need to see, it's what's the one with Sam Neill?
In the Mouth of Madness.
That one. The Fog. I still haven't seen The Fog, but I think most of the other ones I've seen: Escape from New York, The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China.
They Live.
They Live.
Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness. I watched. Even Vampires with in the 90s.
Yeah, that's
Escape from LA.
Yeah, 90s is on the downward trend at that point.
But I've seen them all. The Fog in Mouth of Madness are still escaping me now after Precinct 13. So
yeah,
but yeah,
this is an action movie tailor made for me. Like just how simple it is. I like simplicity in these kind of things.
Yeah.
And likable, strong characters, great music, great pacing, and it's the style that makes it work ultimately, because it's how it handles the build up to, because the actual siege doesn't start till about 40 minutes into the movie, but it feels like it's counting down to it the entire time. It feels like no, this is unraveling and getting to it as we go.
Yeah, that was the thing too. Not that I felt like it was slow, but it took its time.
Yeah.
Like I am so used to modern action movies where the assault would start like 25 minutes in.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think the benefit of not doing that is that we get proper introductions to all the characters. We get like suspenseful build up to how bad the villains are. Like when they're stalking the streets in their car with their guns, it's like, okay, they're going to do something bad. We don't know what yet exactly. And you never predict, they're going to shoot a little girl in the face.
No, never.
It wasn't quite the face, but close enough.
You might as well. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty bad. So real quick, I was just looking over John Carpenter's filmography, and I had no idea that he had made Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Oh yeah, which I've not seen.
Me neither. I just remember growing up going to the video store. They had that poster on the wall for longer than they should have, and it just always Chevy Chase's face always just stuck out to me.
As you do.
But yeah, so and then Starman. How could we forget Starman?
Oh, I like Starman a lot. Yeah, Starman's good.
That one's fantastic as well. Yeah. So
it's fine.
Yeah, this is definitely up there for me. I'd have to think where I place it. It's definitely in the top 5.
It's so funny. Like I think of Carpenter first and foremost as a horror guy, but when I really think about it, he's got like a really good movie in a few different genres. This is probably the purest action movie that he did, or at least it was really good. He's done sci-fi, done horror, obviously, done comedy with Memoirs of Invisible Man, and then so.
Well, Big Trouble in Little China kind of checks a bunch of boxes, like it's.
That's your pulpy sort of. That's your adventure action comedy.
Which would it surprise you if I told you that's my favorite of his?
Whereas this is more of your hard-hitting, gritty 70s pulpy action movie.
He's almost like the comic writer Ed Brubaker, where each of his comics is different, but it's Brubaker. Like Like it can be a gritty action Captain America, or it'll be a gritty action like noir in Criminal. Like, but they're still written by the same guy.
Yeah, I think he loses his style later on.
Yeah.
Definitely into the 90s, but 70s and 80s Carpenter is like a wonder to behold.
He's working. Yeah.
It's a wonder to behold.
Definitely.
So, I guess we'll rate Assault on Precinct 13. Matt, what are you giving it?
Yeah. So this is a solid 8.5 out of me. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I give it a 9. I love Assault on Precinct 13. It's my third favorite Carpenter. Probably not going to take a lot of guesses to guess the top 2.
Yeah.
Oh no, maybe fourth actually. It may be fourth. It may be fourth.
Are you placing Starman above that?
No, this and Prince of Darkness are fighting for third.
Oh, okay.
I love Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness is
great. Prince of Darkness is a peak movie, definitely. So now, if I had to guess what's 1 and 2, taking a shot in the dark, I would say Halloween 1, The Thing 2.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. There you go.
There you
go. And then you're getting to like Starman, maybe at number 5, or maybe I'd have to look at all the movies again and think about it. But those are definitely the top 4. And then there's the B tier, which is a great B tier. I'm not dissing the rest of the movies.
No.
I'm just.
It's funny. One of the podcasts I used to listen to, Geekscape, the host, always said like the best version of I Am Legend would have been made in the 80s by John Carpenter and starring Kurt Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes him mad that it'll never happen. Not mad, but more like sad and upset.
I can see it.
But yeah, this he's definitely a filmmaker that has an era about him,
Yeah, no, he is a feel to a Carpenter movie that very few other directors can replicate. I think It Follows did a really good job actually of replicating a Carpenter feel, which is partly why I loved that so much. But
I can see it.
But hey, so that is Assault on Precinct 13. Of course, there was another winner for December. Die Hard actually won, so that'll be coming up. Now, obviously, we tend to be a bit late on these, and we're usually dipping into the next month, because it's like the 4th of December as we record this. Die Hard, though, we have to get that up before Christmas. That would be weird not to. So expect that fairly quickly compared to normal. So, yes, it'll be our mission to watch Die Hard soon. And do that. There will be another vote up as well for patrons to vote on for the next batch. We're doing a sort of second chance. We both picked movies from the last year that lost, and putting them back into the vote. So I think Matt picked LA Confidential, and I picked The Burbs to go head to head. So
thank you, Merciful, Thor, God Above.
Hey, to be fair, Matt, none of the ones that lost for me were actually that criminal or dangerous for you. They were all pretty safe.
I was worried about Neon Demon. I talked crap about Refn.
That was last year. No, these were only picks from this year.
Okay.
And all the votes for Greta January are going to be that for Screams and Influx as well. And that'll be a tradition every year as well. We'll pick losers from the previous 11 months to do a second chance thing at the end of the year. What you upset didn't make it in before. So but hey, so speaking of patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can go support us over there, get these episodes a week early, amongst other things. Of course, at the $5 tier, you get access to the voting and so on. Otherwise, like, subscribe, all that stuff, all of it helps. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and we will see you next time.